Hi everyone, I'm Dhruv Advani, All India Rank 5 in NEET 2023 and a student at AIIMS Delhi. Today, I'm here to talk to you guys about my daily schedule and timetable for NEET preparation and about time management for balancing breaks, leisure along with our studies. Time management is very essential in the 2 years of preparation that you're giving for NEET exam. You need to ensure that you're able to balance your study time, your breaks, your leisure, your health. You need to give time to your health. You need to give time to your hobbies. You need to ensure that you're a well-balanced person overall and you don't get too stressed. So it's time management starts from the very start of preparation. You need to ensure that you're optimizing your time and you're putting in time from the start, because it is true that it is possible to do well in NEET by preparing for, let's say, 4 months. But those 4 months will involve a huge amount of stress, and that's very unnecessary. If you start doing it from your, let's say, beginning of 11th grade or middle of 11th grade, at the end you'll be very calm. You'll have a lot of time to yourself throughout the 2 years. You'll be able to enjoy everything you want to. And that starts first of all with optimizing your classes. Because most of us spend 9 hours a day in classes at least. Alright? And it is very important that you utilize this class time. Don't treat it as leisure time. You're going and sitting in class and not paying attention, or you're drawing or you're doing something else. What I would recommend is ensure that your learning happens in class. Maybe you're not able to learn from the teacher. You're a person who reads and understands. Then read the textbook while you're sitting in the class and make sure you're understanding, you're utilizing that time. Because if you spend that much, that's essentially 9 hours a day you're studying. Or even if it's 50% effective, that's 4.5 hours of prep done there itself. When you come back home, if you don't have anything else to, like, if you've already prepared well in school, you've understood everything, you've paid attention, you've utilized the time that is given to you to solve questions, then you don't have much to do. That's what the case was for me. I would pay attention in class. If we had breaks in between, let's say 10-minute breaks, I'd sit and solve some numericals and I was done. By the time I came back home, I had nothing else to do. So I would relax. Then I would spend time, I would go down to play basketball, or I would walk around with my friends. I do a lot of things that I wanted to do simply because I had optimized my time in school or in class. I'd utilized it properly, whether it's a coaching class or school. That is the most important thing I can recommend for time management. Then it's going to be having a plan. It need not be a time-based schedule, because that I cannot do. I hate time-based schedules. But you need to have a task-based plan or a time-based plan, whatever works for you. For me, what worked was I would utilize the exams of my coaching. Whatever exam was coming up next, because we had exams every 2 weeks, I would make sure that those chapters need to be finished by that exam. And I would ensure that that was done. If I had remaining work, then I would make sure that I'm doing it. So basically, you need to have task-based learning. That's what worked for me. Or you need to have a schedule that you're able to follow properly. A schedule that works for you, and you need to make sure you're fulfilling that schedule. And that is why coaching exams worked so well for me, because that was a concrete thing. I had to go and write the exam. I would get the marks in the rank, and that would give me a little bit of motivation that I have to do well in those. But at the same time, I would not recommend taking your results too seriously. It doesn't matter. Nobody is going to ask you what marks you got in your Akash ka coaching exam or Alan ka coaching exam in 11th grade. It does not matter. What matters is that you learn from these exams. So that is one thing. Make sure you do your learning in a schedule. You have a plan and you fulfill those plans. So make sure there is a concrete goal. A concrete goal and a concrete reward also, because week after week doing the same thing again, it can get boring and exhausting. So treat yourself when you're done. Let's say you write an exam. What I would do is I would write an exam, I'd come back, I'd go out for dinner with my family, or I'd watch a movie with my friends, or I'd do some time pass that made it okay, I've done an exam, I've gotten a break that I really needed, and now I'm prepared for the next day and to start preparing again for the next exam. And that was very well worked for me. Another important thing is ensure you're paying attention to your health, your physical health and your mental health, because life only gets more stressful after NEET. Once you enter medical college, it's unlike anything you've ever imagined. The sheer volume of the curriculum would baffle you. There's nothing that can compare. NEET is has very little syllabus as compared to a medical college. So your stress is only going to increase, but you need to come up with efficient mechanisms to deal with your stress. For me, it was playing basketball, it was talking to my friends and family, and watching TV shows. Honestly, that helped me a lot. Comedy shows that made me laugh, that helped me de-stress a lot. So I'd give myself at least 1 hour a day where even if I had an exam the next day, at least 1 hour a day I would give myself to relax and to calm down, because otherwise it's very, very exhausting and it's very easy to burn out. There's there's no point of burning out this early. So make sure you're giving yourself rewards. You're taking breaks when you need them. This I cannot emphasize enough. If you keep, let's say matha fodi basically, that's what we call it in Hindi. If you keep doing the same thing over and over and it's not going in your head, then there's no point of doing it. Stop, give yourself a break for a good while, ensure your mental state is normal, and then you come back and try again. But don't waste your time, because that's just, you're not resting also, you're not learning also. It's just a waste of your own time. So I would say take breaks when you need it. Very, very important. And keep some of your hobbies, but understand that there will be some amount of sacrifice that is needed. You might not be able to do everything you want to do. So if you plan well, you might be able to do most of the things you want to do. But keep in mind that sacrifice is important. And that does not mean that you say, okay, aaj se main TV hi nahi dekhunga. That means if you're not able to go out with your friends once, or you're not able to play one day, or you're not able to do whatever you want to do for one day, it's okay. You continue, you do the work, and then you try to do something else you want to do later on. But preparation comes first, because you're doing this for yourself. You're doing this so you can get into a medical college, so you have the privilege of saving lives, right? So you need to ensure that your preparation, your studies come first, and you need to want to study from inside. Then I think that's about it for the overall scheduling. Now I'll come to my daily schedule and how it worked, how I had so much time for leisure also. So the thing was, I would have classes from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. Right? I was in a coaching institute and a school, but I would have classes every day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Saturday. Yeah. So what I would do in that time is, whenever we had theory lectures, I would ensure that I was listening properly. I would make notes. This helped me, okay? Notes might or might not help you, but it helps keep your, even if you're not reading the notes later on, it helps keep your mind engaged when the teacher is teaching. It's less easy to wander when you have to make sure you're writing everything down as fast as you possibly can. So that was my major thing in theory. I would ask questions. If there are any doubts, those doubts need to get cleared as fast as possible, and it's a lot easier to ask an expert who is teaching you and who's in front of you right now than to go online and then search in a lot of places. But one resource that I can recommend if you do need to ask questions is use ChatGPT. It's a highly underrated resource, but any question you ask it, you will get a decent answer. And once you get an answer from ChatGPT, make sure you're looking through the actual concept also, look at the sources and everything. But this will make it easier if you have doubts and you're not able to solve them in any other way. So ask questions, notes, and then when you make sure you solve questions simultaneously. As a concept is being taught, maybe your teacher, let's say in physics, they're teaching you some formula or some concept. Then it's likely that the teacher will give you some questions to solve. Make sure you solve those yourself, you're doing it dedicatedly. And even if that is not happening, keep like a book next to you, and whenever you're bored, whenever you have a break, let's say a few minutes break in between classes, try to solve some questions. Try to relate the concept, because that'll make it a lot easier. You don't have to do as much work later on, because you'll reinforce that concept as it's taught. Okay. So that's about it in class, in school. Okay. And then when you're home, for me, what I would do is I would come home, I take an hour break where I'd like watch TV, sleep if I want to, whatever. And then I would study for 1 hour from 6 to 7 p.m. normally. This is how it became, 6 to 7:30 if I had interest or whatever. I would spend some time studying whatever needed to be done for the next week if I had any doubts. And whatever was taught in class that day, whatever I hadn't understood or I thought I could forget, I would revise that. Then I'd go down, I'd play basketball for 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours. Then I'd roam around with my friends, come back, eat dinner, sleep. This was my daily schedule, and that's what worked for me, because I did not need to do that much after coming home. I optimized my time in classes. So that was, yeah. But that might not work for everyone. Keep that in mind, that you have to do whatever works for you. And you need to make a schedule that you're able to follow, that you feel is productive for yourself. And another very important concept is going to be that of spaced repetition. When you have something that is very hard to remember, this technique helps a lot. And this is kind of unintentional. I think most of us do follow this anyways. But basically, when you learn something, you're taught something in class or you're learning something, that's your first time learning it, right? Then on that day itself, first time in class. Second time that you learn it or you understand it or you revise it will be either on that day or at the end of the week, or basically you'll write one exam for that particular syllabus. So that will be your second time revising it. That's how it worked for me. You could do it more times before that exam. But yeah, that's going to be your second time, will be after coming home. Or before an exam. Because realistically, it gets very difficult to revise everything every day. But at least before every exam, it should be done once. You should make sure you're doing everything. Then the next time you'll do it will probably be when you have like a full portion test or like a bigger test. Basically your term tests or anything like that. That'll be a bigger, more higher portion test. Let's say a full portion test. And each of these times if you keep revising, let's say you read the NCERT you only read the NCERT this time. This time you solve some questions also. This time you solve questions, you solve the previous paper and you read the NCERT. That concept will get solidified in your mind. Then you won't have to do it again for a very long time. You'll remember it for a good amount of time. And near the end, then when you start, you'll do your final revision round. Then you'll have your rounds of revision, right? There are usually 2 rounds of revision, 2 to 3. So that will be your next few times, and this will solidify the concept in your mind. But when you're doing the chapter, when you're learning it, you need to ensure that you're learning it properly. You're paying complete attention to the thing in front of you. You're learning it properly. Your mind is not wandering, etc. You need to try your best to practice at the same time. That is my recommendation. It helps a lot. And you need to ensure that you don't leave anything out. If there's a concept that you find tough, you need to spend more time on it. Don't get scared by it and like avoid it entirely. So that's about it for spaced repetition. So basically, for time management, you need to have a goal, and that goal, you need to have a plan in place to achieve that goal. And that could be a time-based schedule, that could be like a task-based schedule, but whatever works for you, you need to make sure. Ensure that you are taking breaks when you need them. You're balancing everything that you need to do. Understand that there will be some sacrifice that you do need to do for this preparation, and enjoy the process, honestly, because the stuff we're learning is very interesting if you allow it to be. If you treat it as a chore, it gets boring and exhausting. But if you take genuine interest in the things you're learning, these are very, very interesting concepts that will have implications throughout your entire career. That's about it. All the very best.